Cyber Threat Brief for June 9, 2026. Checkpoint VPN users have 3 days to patch CVE 2026-50751, a critical zero-day exploited by Killin ransomware affiliates since early May. Google patched its 5th Chrome zero-day of the year. The Team PCP supply chain worm continues spreading through NPM and PyPI with new Hades-themed variants, while a critical GOG's remote code execution affects default configured instances worldwide. Light LLM deployments face unauthenticated remote code execution when chained with a Starlet vulnerability, and Linux admins need to patch a one-character kernel flaw that grants local root access with public exploits available. Here's the full breakdown of today's top security stories. Daily Cybersecurity Brief. June 9, 2026. Next section, Critical Alerts. Checkpoint VPN zero-day exploited by Killin ransomware. CVE 2026-50751. Checkpoint disclosed CVE 2026-50751, a critical authentication bypass. CVSS, the Common Vulnerability Scoring System. 9.3. Affecting remote access VPN and mobile access deployments, configured with the deprecated ICAV one-key exchange protocol. Unauthenticated remote attackers can bypass authentication and establish VPN connections without valid passwords by exploiting a logic flaw in certificate validation. Attacks began May 7, surged in early June, and have hit a few dozen organizations globally. Checkpoint confirmed at least one breach linked to a Killin ransomware affiliate, with evidence suggesting the threat actor is also exploiting VPN vulnerabilities in Palo Alto, Fortinet, and F5 products. CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, added the flaw to its KEV, known Exploited Vulnerabilities Catalog on June 8, ordering federal agencies to patch by June 11. The vulnerability affects security gateways R82, 10 R82 R81, 20 R81, 10 EOS R81 EOS R80, 40 EOS and Spark firewalls R80, 20 X EOS R81, 10 X R82, 0 X. While investigating, Checkpoint found CVSS 7.4, a second ICAV one certificate validation flaw enabling man-in-the-middle attacks on site-to-site VPN connections, with no evidence of exploitation yet, and 2 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: apply hotfixes immediately if using ICAV 1. If patching is not possible, remove legacy remote access client support, configure global properties for remote access VPN authentication to ICAV 2 only, enable IPS and download signatures, and set machine certificate authentication as mandatory. Audit VPN logs starting from May 7 for unauthorized connections. The Killin gang has claimed over 400 victims since August 2022, including Yongfeng, Nissan, Asahi, Lee Enterprises, Synovis, and Court Services Victoria. Sources: Bleeping Computer Security Week, The Hacker News Dark Reading CISA. GOG's remote code execution zero-day affects default configurations. GOG's patched a critical argument injection vulnerability, enabling remote code execution on all releases up to 0.14.2 and 0.15.0 plus dev. Authenticated attackers without admin privileges can compromise servers, read any repository including private repos, steal credentials, move laterally, and alter source code. The vulnerability affects all GOG servers with default configurations because GOG ships with open registration enabled, disable registration equals false, and no repository creation limit, max creation limit equals 1, allowing unauthenticated attackers to simply create an account and repository. Once a user owns a repo, enabling rebase merging is a single toggle, and the entire exploit chain operates without interaction from other users. Rapid7 disclosed the flaw June 8 after multiple status updates went unanswered, and GOG's maintainers released version 0.14.3 on June 7. Shadowsver tracks over 2,300 internet-exposed GOG servers, most in Asia, 1,839, and Europe, 312. This flaw is similar to CVE 2024-39933, but affects a different code path merge that was never addressed. In December 2026, GOG's patched an RCE exploited in zero-day attacks to compromise hundreds of servers, which CISA added to its KEV catalog in January with a February 2 remediation deadline, and 4 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: update to GOG's 0.14.3 immediately. If immediate patching is not possible, set disable registration equals true in app. In I to prevent untrusted user accounts, and set MAX creation limit equals 0 to block repository creation. Audit rebase merge settings in existing repositories, though this is not effective against malicious users with repo admin access. Source: Bleeping Computer. Google patches 5th Chrome 0 day of 2026, CVE 2026-11645. Google patch CVE 2026-11645, a high-severity out-of-bounds read and write weakness in the Chrome V8 JavaScript engine exploited in the wild. This is the 5th Chrome 0 day fixed since the start of the year. Remote attackers can exploit the flaw via crafted HTML pages to execute arbitrary code inside the browser sandbox, access data beyond memory buffers via heap corruption, or bypass ASLR protections. Google released patched versions for Windows 149.0.7827.102, Mac 149.0.7827.103, and Linux 149.0.7827.102, 2 weeks after an anonymous researcher reported the flaw. Google has not shared details about the exploitation incidents. The 4 other Chrome 0 days patched in 2026 were CSS font feature values map iterator invalidation, Skia out-of-bounds write, V8 inappropriate implementation, and Dawn use after free. Last year, Google fixed 8 0 days exploited in the wild, many reported by Google's threat analysis group tracking spyware attacks, and 4 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: Update Chrome to version 149.0.7827.102, Windows/Linux, or 149.0.7827.103, Mac, immediately. Chrome auto updates during the next launch, or check for updates manually at Chrome/settings/help. Sources: Bleeping Computer, The Hacker News. Light LLM RCE exploited in the wild, CVE 2026-42271. CIS added CVE 2026-42271 to its KEV catalog on June 8, a high-severity command injection vulnerability. CVSS 8.7, in Berry AI Lite LLM that allows authenticated users to run arbitrary commands on the host. The flaw affects Lite LLM versions 1.74.2 through 1.83.6. 2 endpoints used to preview an MCP server before saving it, post/mcprest/test/connection, and post/mcprest/test/tools/list, accepted full server configurations including command, args, and env fields used by the stdio transport. When called with a stdio configuration, the endpoints spawned the supplied command as a subprocess with proxy process privileges. The endpoints were secured only by a valid proxy, a PI, key, so any authenticated user, including privileged internal user keys, could execute arbitrary commands. Horizon 3. AI chained with CVSS 6.5. A bad host header validation bypass in Starlet ASCII framework affecting versions 1.0.0 and earlier, to bypass authentication entirely and achieve unauthenticated remote code execution. The chain vulnerability has a combined CVSS score of 10. 0. Successful exploitation allows attackers to run arbitrary commands on the Lite LLM host, access model provider credentials, siphon API keys and secrets, move laterally into connected AI infrastructure, and compromise downstream systems. CISA ordered federal agencies to remediate by June 22. In April, a critical SQL injection flaw in Lite LLM, CVSS 9.3, was exploited within 36 hours of becoming public, and 3 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: Update Lite LLM to version 1.83.7 or later, and Starlet to version 1.0.1 or later immediately. If immediate patching is not possible, block post/mcprest/test/connection and post/mcprest/test/tools/list at the reverse proxy or API gateway. Restrict network access to trusted segments, rotate credentials stored by the proxy, and review logs for unusual host header activity and subprocess execution events. Source: The Hacker News. Team PCP supply chain campaign continues with Hades Pi variant SANS Internet Storm Center reported that the Team PCP supply chain campaign reached 2 new developments. First, CISA added CVE 2026-45321, tanstack/minishai-hulid, and CVE 2026-48027, NX console v18.95. 0 malicious code to its KEV catalog on May 27 with a June 10 remediation deadline, resolving the multi-week federal silence on the campaign. CISA issued its first standalone advisory on May 28, documenting the poisoned NX console VS code extension, the exfiltration of approximately 3,800 GitHub internal repositories, and a separate megalodon campaign injecting malicious GitHub Actions workflows to harvest CI/CD secrets and cloud credentials. Second, the leaked Mini Shai-Hulud framework produced its first major wave targeting at Red Hat Cloud Services NPM packages. Beginning June 1, the miasma worm compromised at least 32 packages across roughly 90 or more versions, with cumulative weekly downloads of about 80,000. The attacker used a compromised Red Hat employee GitHub account. A Hades campaign hit PyPI with Mini Shai-Hulud, compromising 37 malicious PyPI wheels across 19 packages. Socket identified the tradecraft as unmistakably Shai-Hulud/miasma based on the cross-runtime design. The attack chain installs Bun, a JavaScript runtime, as a heavily obfuscated JavaScript stealer before executing the payload, even on NPM where Node.js would be the expected runtime. The PyPI wave abuses Python PTH startup behavior to launch the Bun-powered credential stealer targeting developer, cloud, package publishing, and CI/CD secrets. New features include Hades-themed GitHub exfiltration markers, repository description, Hades the end for the damned, and component names, Stygian, Tartarian, Cerberus, Charon, Styx, Leth, Thanatos, Persephone. The campaign demonstrates adaptability across ecosystems, using PTH startup files as a distinct execution mechanism compared to the NPM lifecycle script abuse seen previously. Action: audit CI/CD logs and cloud audit trails for May-June timeframe. Rotate all CI/CD accessible secrets. Review dependencies in package, JSON, requirements, TXT, and package lock files for unusual packages or version changes. Monitor for Python PTH files in installed packages, and review NPM lifecycle scripts in installed packages. The campaign has entered a phase where tradecraft outlives any single operator, with attackers using open-sourced code with no direct connection to Team PCP. Sources: SANS ISC Dark Reading. Next section, Ransomware and Extortion. Silent Ransom Group uses DNS fast flux and attacks the Silent Ransom Group, SRG. Also tracked as Chatty Spider, Luna Moth, and UNC 3753, is using a fast flux network of infected devices to hide its infrastructure, according to Resecurity. SRG uses voice phishing, and social engineering to gain remote access to victims' environments. The group typically sends phishing emails themed around data migration or invoices, encouraging recipients to engage in phone conversations with operatives posing as IT specialists who convince victims to host screen sharing sessions and install remote access software. SRG is known for targeting law firms in the US and for sending operatives in person to insert USB drives into victims' computers for data exfiltration or malware deployment, according to a recent FBI alert. The group also targets finance, healthcare, insurance, and hospitality firms. After gaining access, SRG focuses on lateral movement and data exfiltration without deploying file encrypting malware. Shortly after data exfiltration, often within 30 minutes, the threat actor sends extortion emails threatening to publish stolen data on its Clear Web Data leak site. If unresponsive, the group contacts employees and partners to increase pressure. SRG's fast flux network uses infected routers, modems, gateways, and other EOT/CPE devices. The technique rapidly changes DNS records of a legitimate domain, rotating numerous IP addresses and DNS name servers to hide server locations. Resecurity identified SRG fast flux nodes in 18 countries across Latin America, Eastern Europe, Central Asia, the Middle East, Africa, East Asia, and the Caribbean, spread across 22 ISPs. The botnet rotates DNS records for ep6phage.com and businessdataleaks.com. Law firms accounted for almost a quarter of all ransomware-related incidents tracked in Q1 2026, making it the fourth most targeted industry. Google reported SRG has been active since at least 2022, with activities overlapping UNC 2686, known for Bazaar call campaigns and the use of TrickBot, Ursnif, and Bazaar loader malware. Action: block ep6phage.com and businessdataleaks.com at the perimeter. Train staff to recognize voice phishing attempts, particularly calls about data migration, invoices, or IT issues requesting screen sharing or remote access tool installation. Restrict USB ports on sensitive systems. Monitor for unauthorized remote access tool installations, AnyDesk, TeamViewer, etc. Source: Security Week. Ransomware closes Illinois high schools. A ransomware attack forced Evanston Township High School to close, canceling summer school, sports camps, and on-campus activities. The incident is part of a growing trend of ransomware targeting educational institutions, particularly during the summer when IT staffing is often reduced and schools are planning for the fall semester. Sources: The Register Data Breaches. Net. Killen NHS breach tally, grows 2 years after the Killin ransomware attack on Synovis Pathology Services. Essex Trust confirmed stolen patient records, adding to the growing tally of NHS organizations impacted by the breach. The incident demonstrates the long tail of ransomware impacts, with victim organizations still working to identify and warn affected patients years after the initial compromise. Source: The Register. Next section: Business and Infrastructure Threats. Microsoft Teams phishing campaigns. Bypass Email Defenses Unit 42 reported a 42% increase in phishing alerts from collaboration tools in the first 4 months of 2026, up from 30% in the preceding 4 months. Threat actors are moving away from traditional email phishing toward trusted collaboration tools like Microsoft Teams. Cloaked Ursa, App29, Cozy Bear, Midnight Blizzard successfully operationalized this approach in late 2024, leveraging compromised accounts to send Teams messages containing malicious links, redirecting to credential harvesting pages, mimicking legitimate Microsoft login portals. In December 2025, UNC 6692 used Teams to impersonate IT helpdesk staff, convincing employees to accept Teams chat invitations from accounts outside their organization. Threat actors initiate chats with employees using type-squatted domains that closely resemble trusted vendors or internal naming conventions, sometimes operating from Microsoft 365 tenants deliberately named to mimic IT support functions, security teams, or managed service providers. Teams Federation is enabled by default in many organizations, allowing users to communicate with external tenants unless restricted by policy. In advanced scenarios, threat actors bypass deception by compromising legitimate service provider or partner accounts and leveraging existing trust relationships to initiate chats from recognized and allowed domains. While Teams provides visual indicators that a sender is external and has an impersonation protection feature, users may overlook warnings when the sender appears to represent a known vendor, partner, or internal support function. Action: review Teams Federation settings and restrict external communication to known, trusted domains. Implement conditional access policies requiring MFA, multi-factor authentication, approval for external Teams contacts. Train users to verify external contacts through secondary channels before accepting chat invitations or clicking links. Monitor for unusual Teams chat patterns, particularly those impersonating IT support or requesting MFA approvals. Source: Unit 42. AI brands used as social engineering lures. Microsoft Threat Intelligence observed a growing number of campaigns impersonating the branding of popular AI platforms: ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, DeepSeek, Anthropic's Claude, as lures in phishing, malvertising, and SEO-driven attacks leading to credential theft, financial fraud, or malware infection. While traditional lures like invoices, payment notifications, or delivery alerts remain effective, AI-themed lures reflect a shift in social engineering likely to persist as a long-term tactic, from cybercriminal groups to nation-states. Storm 3075 employed AI-themed malvertising to deliver payloads, including malware signed by the Malware Signing as a Service (MSAS) offering attributed to Fox Tempest on behalf of multiple downstream actors. On May 5, Microsoft detected a ChatGPT-themed phishing attack, delivering malicious URLs leading to phishing pages, collecting credit card and personal information. The campaign sent 4,500 emails to targets in South Africa, 97%, and delivered as much as 100,000 emails on a single day to targets in Switzerland, Austria, and South Africa, affecting higher education and professional services. The emails used sender display name, ChatGPT, with subject, to ensure your ChatGPT Plus continues to work to please update your payment method, posing as urgent requests to update subscription payment methods with warnings of account downgrades within 7 days. Targets were redirected through legitimate and abused redirector hops including groupaconstat.bitrix24.com.br, a legitimate CRM service, to exploit trusted domain reputations, bypass email filters, evade detection, and track victim engagement. Action: train users to verify subscription-related emails directly through official websites rather than email links. Implement email security controls that flag brand impersonation attempts and inspect redirect chains. Monitor for phishing campaigns using AI brand names in sender display names and subject lines. Source: Microsoft Security Blog. NSO Group spyware campaigns defy court injunction. Meta detected and disrupted spear phishing campaigns allegedly conducted by NSO Group after investigating user reports of social engineering attacks. Despite a 2025 permanent injunction barring NSO from targeting WhatsApp users, NSO Group is an Israeli commercial spyware vendor known for its Pegasus tool deployed against politicians, activists, journalists, and academics. NSO has been on the U.S. sanctioned entities list since November 2021. Meta secured a permanent injunction against NSO in 2025, a declaration of liability for 1,400 infections and an associated $167 million fine. The attacker attempted to lure targets into clicking malicious links, redirecting to external websites, resembling previously documented one-click phishing campaigns associated with NSO. Meta caught NSO creating test accounts and groups on WhatsApp, which were taken down. IOCs include iquincast.com and 2 additional domains. See show notes for the full list. Action: block IOC's iquincast.com and 2 additional domains. See show notes for the full list. Source: bleeping computer. Next section, patch priority. Checkpoint VPN. CVE 2026-50751, CVSS 9.3, critical authentication bypass, kill in ransomware exploitation, CIS a KEV due June 11. GOGS, critical RCE 0 day, update to 0.14.3, affects default configurations with open registration. Chrome, CVE 2026-11645, high severity, V8 out of bounds read/write, 5th 0 day of 2026, update to 149.0.7827.102/103. Light LLM, CVE 2026-42271, CVSS 8.7, command injection, chains to unauthenticated RCE with Starlet CVE 2026-48710, CIS a KEV due June 22. Linux kernel, CVE 2026-23111, CVSS 7.8, NF tables use after free enabling local root, public exploits available, affects Ubuntu 22. 4/24. 4 Debian Bookworm/Trixie, rel 10. Next section, vulnerability disclosures. Linux kernel 1 character flaw enables local root, CVE 2026-23111. Security researchers published detailed working exploits for CVE 2026-23111, a Linux kernel use after free that lets unprivileged local users escalate to root and break out of containers. The flaw sits in the kernel's NF tables packet filtering code and was patched upstream February 5. Exodus Intelligence released its full technical walkthrough June 8, and Fuzzing Labs published an independent reproduction in April. The flaw came down to a single stray character, an inverted check in NF tables, and the upstream fix removed it in one line. Ubuntu rates the flaw CVSS 7.8 high. The reachable setup is common. NF tables plus unprivileged user namespaces, both shipping by default on most desktops and many server builds. There is no remote vector. This is a bug attackers reach for after getting a foothold, turning a low-privileged shell, compromised container, or service account into root on the host. Exodus researcher Oliver Sieber chained it into full local root, demonstrating on Debian Bookworm, Debian Trixie, Ubuntu 22, 4 LTS, and Ubuntu 24, 4 LTS. Fuzzing Labs reproduced the bug on rel 10 ahead of PWN2 own Berlin 2026, building its own root exploit by a different route. CVE 2026-23111 lands in the middle of a heavy run of Linux local root disclosures, including copyfail, the dirty frag chain, its Fragnesia variant, dirty decrypt, and a 9-year-old ptrace flaw that reads /etc/shadow and runs commands as root. Synactive links the LPE surge pace to AI-assisted research and patch diffing that put working exploits out before fixes spread, and makes the case that ordinary hardening still buys defenders time by cutting off what unprivileged users can reach. There are no public reports of exploitation in the wild. Action: update the kernel and reboot. Focus first on systems that let untrusted users or workloads create unprivileged user namespaces. Ubuntu has fixes for 22, 4, 24, 4, and 25. 10. Debian fixed Bookworm and Trixie with a 6, 1 backport for Bullseye LTS. Red Hat, SUSE, and Amazon Linux also track the flaw. Consider disabling unprivileged user namespaces on systems that do not require them. Source: The Hacker News. Android Framework Privilege Escalation Under Exploitation, CVE 2025-48595. Google patched 124 security vulnerabilities in Android for June 2026, including CVE 2025-48595, CVSS 8.4. A high-severity privilege escalation flaw in the framework component under active exploitation. The vulnerability affects Android versions 14, 15, 16, and 16 QPR2 and requires no user interaction. Google acknowledged indications that CVE 2025-48595 may be under limited, targeted exploitation, but did not reveal specifics about who may have been behind the activity, the targets affected, or the scale of efforts. Action: apply the June 2026 Android security update to all devices running Android 14, 15, or 16. Prioritize devices used by high-risk users or those with access to sensitive data. Source: The Hacker News. Multiple MSRC CVE, or Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures, publications Microsoft Security Response Center, published information for multiple CVEs affecting various components. CVE 2026-11463, USI Lab Serial Shared Pointer Type Confusion, EPSS, the Exploit Prediction Scoring System, 0.0, 15th percentile. CVE 2026-49975. Apache HTTP Server Mod HTTP2 Denial of Service. CVE 2026-40930. Libn Chunk Smuggling and Push Mode App Parser, EPSS 0.0, 9th percentile. CVE 2026-10879. DBI versions before 1. 648 for Perl heap overflow with more than 9 binders, EPSS 0.0, 5th percentile. CVE 2026-50256. Zorgex 11 server stack buffer overflow in font alias resolution, EPSS 0.0, 2nd percentile. CVE 2026-50260. Zorgex 11 server use after free and free counter, EPSS 0.0, 2nd percentile. CVE 2026-50031. Free IPME before 1.6.18 exploitable buffer overflows on response messages in IPME OEM Dell and Fujitsu subcommands, EPSS 0.0, 12th percentile. CVE 2026-46272. Chorusite TMC at a race condition between CISFs and perf mode, EPSS 0.0, 4th percentile. CVE 2026-50292. Lib input before 1.30.4 and 1.31. X before 1.31.3, unescaped FIS output, can inject UDEV properties leading to arbitrary root code execution, EPSS 0.1, 17th percentile. CVE 2026-35429. Microsoft Edge, Chromium-based, for Android spoofing vulnerability, updated acknowledgement, EPSS 0.1, 20th percentile. CVE 2026-46250. MIPS LLVM bug when GP is used as global register variable, EPSS 0.0, 2nd percentile. CVE 2026-50262. Zorgex 11 server out of bounds read/write in GLX change Draywable attributes, EPSS 0.0, 2nd percentile. Sources: MSRC. Instagram recovery tool bug exposed 20,225 accounts. Meta disclosed a security incident involving an Instagram account recovery tool after attackers used a flaw to send password reset links to email addresses not connected to targeted accounts. The issue affected 20,225 people, according to a data breach notice filed with the Maine Attorney General's office. Source: Data Breaches. Net. Next section, General Security News. Apple announces AI-powered automatic password fixer at WWDC 2026. Apple announced an Apple Intelligence-powered feature that can automatically fix weak and compromised passwords. Currently, Safari and the Apple Passwords app can flag weak, duplicate, or compromised passwords, but do not automatically fix them. The new AI-powered feature will launch with iOS 27 for the Passwords app in Safari, enabling automatic updates of eligible accounts to strong passwords. The feature uses next-generation Apple Foundation models, custom-built in collaboration with Google, using Gemini models to fine-tune Apple's own model. The models run on-device and on servers using private cloud compute. When private cloud compute handles users' requests, personal data is not stored nor made accessible to Apple or anyone else. The feature is available in beta for developer program members. Source: Bleeping Computer. Next section, Trends and Context. The Checkpoint VPN 0-day, GOGS RCE, and Light LLM command injection demonstrate a continued pattern of authentication bypass and command injection vulnerabilities affecting enterprise infrastructure. The Team PCP supply chain campaign's transition from a single operator to an open-sourced framework marks a significant shift in supply chain threat models, with tradecraft now available to copycat attackers. A surge in Linux local privilege escalation vulnerabilities, with AI-assisted research producing working exploits before patches spread widely, highlights the narrowing window between disclosure and exploitation. Microsoft Teams phishing and AI brand impersonation campaigns show threat actors adapting to improved email security controls by targeting collaboration tools and exploiting user curiosity around emerging technologies. That concludes today's Cyber Threat Brief. From Carolina, Clear Tech. Stay patched, stay vigilant.